There's got to be a better way.
All right, good evening, guys, gals, and non-binary pals out there. I'm Titan Reaver.
And I'm Barry Lovewhistle.
And we're here to talk about transmitters, specifically in the defense of Flysky. So something that's been bothering me for quite some time is how everyone just sort of dismisses the company overall. Whenever you ask a question, people will just respond with Flysky, and then that's that. Or when they make a transmitter and you see a review of it, and the first comment the reviewer makes is, well, it's got that Flysky label on it, so man, that sucks.
I think a big reason for that is probably due to the base model of brands, right? Because when you talk about Flysky, when you talk about Flysky, Tyrannus,
yes,
you're generally talking about the QX7, right?
Correct.
Transmitter we all know and love. My only transmitter, because I only have one.
Yeah.
And it's got OpenTX, which everybody loves, right? The OpenTX is going to come up, I imagine, a couple times
probably
in this discussion. It's really easy to configure, to use, and all that good stuff, right? When you're talking about Flysky,
you think of the FSI-6.
which, by the way, is it's way better than people give it credit for.
Yeah, this transmitter is $50 for a digitally controlled, full-function transmitter with 6 channels. And it comes with built-in diversity transmission.
You know what else it comes with built in? A place to put batteries.
Correct, yeah, just a battery tray. Is like, it blows my mind that
we had to build a battery tray just to power this, which I understand to the hobbyist who's been in the game for a couple of years, that's no big deal. I mean, it wasn't really much of a big deal for us.
No, yeah.
But you should be able to turn something on when you buy it.
Yeah, I understand. Yes, you can power that from a lot of things, and that's something people like. But I'm also going to go back to the easy to configure thing. Every time people talk about OpenTX, usually the conversation starts with them complaining about it. Like, oh, you have to run these scripts to put your Crossfire module on. Oh, OpenTX, you have to do all this other stuff to make it work. And then when a company creates something that doesn't have it, then the complaint is, yeah, but it doesn't have OpenTX. Like, so what do you want? You want to complain about the product that you have, and then when a company tries to do something better, you complain about that. Notably, the protocol that's on the FSI-6, I think, is one of the most intuitive things that I had used before I got my new transmitter, because there's pictures and a graphical user interface. It's not just lines of text.
The FSI-6 really is, and not just for drones, mind you, because like drones was the very last thing that I got into that uses transmitters like this. The first time I got a transmitter, but I'd been following a lot of this stuff. Obviously, fixed wing aircraft. For years, fixed wing aircraft people have been saying, get that transmitter as your first one. It's good enough. You can get receivers for $12.
They're less than that.
Yeah,
I bought a pack of 2 of them for $12. So.
Pulse width modulation receivers, mind you. You can get cheaper receivers for this that run off of PPM, which, unless you're building your own flight controller, if you're in it for the simplest, I want to have the signal go from the receiver to a servo, to a motor controller, to a pneumatic actuator. If you're into robots or stuff like that, the FSI-6 is going to be good enough, and it's even going to be better because you can get the really cheap receivers that can do everything without an external module attached to them.
And the convenient thing, as long as you're using anything that has the HDS2, HSD, the protocol that this uses, HDS2 protocol, you can upgrade your transmitter as much as you want with other Flysky products and keep the receiver on that original thing. So you can go to the FSI6X if you just want this same thing but with an upgraded firmware. You can go to the FSI6S if you want the same thing but with a more sleek design, and then the FSI8, the FSI10, the NV14, they all use the same protocol, and you can just upgrade along your way. 2 of them even have OpenTX on it, so
their argument
goes
right out the window. But that's the low end, right? That's just comparing the Tyrannus QX7 to the FSI6, which
yes. Which, yes, I understand. This is a $50 transmitter, and this is $200, something like that. Right? I get that. But I don't understand that why, because a company makes a cheap item, that when they make a luxury item, it is dismissed offhand. So I just got this. This is the Flysky Paladin PL18, an 18-channel transmitter with Hall effect gimbals, again, built-in diversity transmission. And the operating system on it is super intuitive. If you want to do something, you click on the picture that represents that thing. For instance, when I first connected this to Liftoff, which, again, it just connects to your computer. You don't need to trick Windows into thinking that it's older than it is, because this works with the current Windows update, which the Tyrannus still does not. Even after many firmware updates, they still won't make it work with the most recent version of Windows. This plugs in and it knows that it's working fine. But one thing is that the yaw axis was inverted. So when you're using Liftoff, every time you would yaw left, it thought you were yawing right. So I had to fix that, and the way that you do that is you click on the reverse icon and click rudder, and then you're reversed. And that's it. And then you go back to the home screen. And it was simple. It's very simple to do these things. Because if you want to know how you want to reverse something, there's a picture that says reverse. And you press it.
And yeah, some hater in there, and keep in mind, I'm still going to use my Tyrannus QX7 because I only want to have one transmitter. But some hater down there is going to post in the comments, oh, all you've got to do to reverse rudder direction is X. And I challenge you to make a comment that has the full instructions for doing that, that doesn't require you to click show more. Put that in the comments. Get it onto, 4 lines?
Yeah, 4 lines, something like that.
So something that does what click this thing does on the Paladin.
And yeah, I understand if you like your operating system, then that's fine. I also understand the validity of wanting an operating system that may be more complicated to use, but is more powerful and more capable in the long run. There's a reason that Windows is a very popular operating system compared to, what is Apple calling it now? Whatever their OS is.
River Run,
Wild Feet, I don't know. But
some Apple user, comment down below with whatever it is you're using to watch this video.
There's also a reason why Microsoft Windows is more popular than any iteration of Linux, right? Because Linux is more complicated to use, but you're not really gaining a whole lot in the process of using it. And again, someone is out there running their Dark Hat or whatever version you want to use, and you're going to tell me why that's a lie. But again, it's for most people, it's just not doing anything. And that's the other thing. For 90% of what you're doing with a drone, OpenTX just does too much. You don't need it. How many times have you, when you do scroll through the list and you go, no idea what that means, no idea what that means, no, and you just keep scrolling down the huge list of things because the graphical user interface is like something off of a microwave from the 70s. I don't know, it's painful. And then you finally get to the line that the words don't mean what you think they mean, but the instruction online in some Joshua Bardwell video told you to change it to that, and so you do, and now it works. And I just think something that is equally as capable for 90% of what you're doing, but is so much easier to use.
Even just binding an OpenTX isn't intuitive. I mean, we all know how to do it because we all watched, again, the Joshua Bardwell video on it.
Yeah.
But like the word bind doesn't even exist until you click on something.
The transmitter like model.
Where you go to the transmitter protocol, and if this is your first time binding a transmitter to a receiver, you have no idea. How do you bind something on that?
You press the bind button in the menu, and then you bind it to the thing that you're holding the button on. So the receiver side's the same. You hold the button when you turn it on, and then on here you press bind. That's it. It's just the whole menu. Because the menus are broken down into a user interface, a graphical user interface. And yes, I know that some people don't like the touchscreen. Some people don't like that it's color, because outside it can be difficult to use. But I'm going to ask you, have you ever used your phone outside or at all? And you've probably used your phone outside, and you can still, even when it's in direct sunlight, you can probably read it. It might be not as bright or not as color rich, but you can read it. And this is the same thing here. And I don't know what you're doing in that screen out in broad daylight, because most of the time, anything that you need to do on the menu, you've done before you go out. So I don't know. And furthermore, it brings me up to another company that Futaba does a lot of their stuff does not run OpenTX. And I don't hear people hating about Futaba. I'm not going to hate, because I also like Futaba. Futaba is still the company that I use for my terrestrial RC. I like the TP4M. I think it's great. I think Futaba is a great company. But I don't know why when they do something, people just accept it as tradition. And when Flysky does something, it's an egregious slight against the community.
We don't have a Futaba
like full size
full size transmitter here, but we're gonna scroll something up on the screen here.
Yeah, I'll bring
one. We'll put a link to a low end one and a high end one, because it kind of seems to be our theme tonight. Everyone knows the high end Tyrannus, because that's the thing until Jumper. But so we'll do a low and a high end Futaba. Just to
and there's DSM or Spectrum. Which is similar, a lot of some people have complained about the operating system on Spectrum, but
Spectrum is another brand. But before I got into drones, the two radio brands that I had heard about were Flysky and Spectrum, because outside of drones, in the robotics world, in the DIY robotics world, those are the two brands, because they're
and Spectrum does do something similar in that they have transmitters that are relatively cheap, and then they go up to ones that are very expensive. So similar to your Flysky model, in that you can buy something that's cheap-ish and then get something that's expensive later. It just brings back the question then, if people are okay with Spectrum as a company who does the same thing, then why is Flysky stuck being known as the FSI-6 creator? And I don't understand it. But all that aside, there's a few things that I just really want to talk about, because I love this transmitter. When I got, what was your reaction when you first saw it?
I just saw it for the first time earlier today, when we didn't have the cameras rolling then, so.
So I got that new transmitter, so let's see.
Oh yeah. Oh wow. This has some heft.
Yeah.
The gimbals are really smooth. What's this?
I think it's a cover for the screen.
Oh yeah?
Yeah. So it can block out the light when you're outside.
Oh, that's a nice transmitter.
Thanks.
When you hold it, it feels like a high quality professional piece of equipment. It's clearly manufactured with tight tolerances. It is not a toy. everything actuates smoothly and crisply. It's a high quality piece of electronics. You can tell right off the bat it's a high quality piece of electronics. Compared to the Tyrannus, I mean, it's not like the Tyrannus is.
Tyrannus isn't cheap.
Yeah.
You're right. It doesn't feel cheap in your hands.
Hey, that rattle is not Tyrannus's fault, but the.
No, that's my key ring on the.
And it's got a module bay.
It does have a module bay, and it does come with the brackets to put full size modules in this. Just a JR adapter is available. So you can, and something else. So one of the initial worries about this product was whether Flysky would actually be making firmware updates, and they are. And updating the firmware is super simple because you go to the menu, you click System, you click Update Firmware. Then, while it's plugged into the computer, you go to the Flysky website and you click the Download Firmware button. It downloads a .exe file, and it updates the firmware for you, and then takes you back to the main menu. That's it. It was super simple. And I figured, I didn't even look at the user's guide to figure, because there were a couple of things I wanted to figure out if I could do without ever looking at anything. And that's one of the things that I did. I figured out how to center the throttles, super simple, because you don't need to take it apart. I like having a center sprung throttle, and all you have to do is loosen one screw and tighten another screw in order to get the tension that I wanted, and that was it. And it was ready to go. So when I did that with my Tyrannus, I had to take the whole thing apart and then do the same thing. Which is one thing I did say about the Tyrannus, because one issue I have, my only real issue with Flysky products in the past, is that a lot of times the left stick is different than the right stick, and so you can't center spring the throttle with the equipment that comes with the product you buy, and I don't like that. So that was one thing that I was really glad that they did in this, and didn't require you to take it apart to do so. And this uses micro USB, not mini USB. Because any product that is still using mini USB in 2020 is, I don't know, it just shouldn't be doing it. Like, nothing uses mini USB. There's a reason that mini USB only existed as a flash in the pan plug type, because it's awful. It does not stay in whatever it's plugged into very well. It's much larger than it needs to be. Its design was to carry more current than a micro connector is ever going to carry.
Now I only have 3 things that use mini USB, and 2 of them are outdated technology. Admittedly, I have my GoPro is a GoPro 3. I'm not sponsored by GoPro, but I can't get another GoPro until that one breaks, and I am still using a 3.
Because it won't break.
And the other one is my PlayStation 3, because I still have a PlayStation 3. Of course, Final Fantasy VII did just come out on the PS4, so yeah. I may actually get a PS4. That's a different video.
Products, you're allowed to do that. I won't hate you as a person, but I'll disagree with your life choices.
Okay.
And yeah, so this uses micro USB, and the USB connector is at the top of the transmitter, which at first I didn't think was going to be, when I first got the Tyrannus, I didn't really think that was going to be an issue, but if you're on the sim, and I'm regularly sitting down when I'm doing that, and I always hold my transmitter, I usually put it against my body, just like I do when I'm flying it. And when you're doing that, if the connection is on the back, you're going to put stress on an already weak connector design, which means it's going to fall out, which it does, or you're going to break it, which luckily I have not. Where this, being on the top of the transmitter, means that it's away from my body, which is super convenient, perfectly designed. And it has an internal battery that charges while you're using it. So if you connect in and you're on liftoff, you don't have to worry about the battery. You can use it for hours. I was just, like last night, I think 2.5 hours is what I spent in the sim. Not an issue. Now, not that whatever battery you choose to power your Tyrannus from is going to die quickly, but they still require recharging, where this plugs in and the battery's internal. And I just love that.
That almost even is another plus because it gives you incentive to spend more time in the sim.
That's true.
You know,
you don't have to worry about it.
I got to charge my transmitter, so I got to have it plugged into the computer anyway. Might as well fire up the sim, you know, spend 30 minutes in the sim charging my transmitter.
Exactly. It's super easy. I know this is hard to describe. When I got it, I just could not wait to use it. When you just pick it up and you're messing with it and you're holding it and looking at it, it just really re-inspired me to want to continue doing this. Not that I didn't like the Tyrannus, I just really liked it. And I mean, to be fair, there was a lot of hype built up because I ordered this in January, I think. And in all that time, all I could do was get excited about it. And I know that everyone's probably experienced something like that, and then when they finally get the product, they're disappointed. Have you ever ordered something and then waited 6 months and been like, well, it's fine, but it was not worth the 6 months of hype.
Yeah, I guess I have ordered from Wish.
Yeah, that's fair. You get something that you've been waiting a long time for, and even if it's not worth the hype, I know that when I got this, I was just as excited as when I watched the Drone Camp's RC review of the Paladin, which is a very thorough review, as all of his reviews are. And you could tell that he was excited about it in the video. And I felt that, and when I got it, I was also very excited about it. So if you want, I'll link his video in the description below. Percent chance that I would ever be as technically complete as Justin Davis from Drone Camps RC. So you can watch his video if you want. It's pretty long.
I think it's also important to stress that this is not a review,
right,
per se, or
that's true. It's really me fangirling about the Flysky Paladin
and defending the brand.
Yes,
and starting a fight, maybe. If you were to fight us on Flysky as a brand, start a fight in the comments section below. Be
respectful of each other as people. We are allowed to have differences of opinions on aspects of the hobby, but do be respectful of people as human beings.
It's attack the argument,
yes,
not the person, as a formerly popular YouTuber recently said. There. I don't know if you unsubscribed to Shadowversity yet. But
I did unsubscribe from Shadowversity.
So I unsubscribed from him after he restarted a fight with New Sensei about archery.
I'll make sure to include this bit so people can know my opinions. But yes, I understand that everyone has differences of opinions. I just want it to be known that people are allowed to like things. And when you leave snide comments after someone asks for help, and your comment is Flysky, asterisk, shrug, asterisk, then you're not helping anybody. Right? You're only deterring more people from getting into the hobby, which is the opposite of what we should be doing.
It's definitely the opposite of what we do.
That's true.
Look at between our two channels. Our whole goal is to try and smooth over that process as much as possible.
We just want people to enjoy this, to have videos that are from an amateur perspective about things, and to make it easier for other people to get into. That's what I want.
Yeah, because
that's what we're here for.
The more the merrier. You know, if we had more people flying, we probably wouldn't have to face as harsh a legislation, or at least, I don't know if I'd say that, but I'd say things would definitely be more understandable in Washington.
I'd say that's true. I'd say if there were more people who had, which there are a lot of people who are putting out positive images of the community and are making a good face of the people involved in this. It's just unfortunate that there are a few people who glorify wildly illegal things on their films and their YouTube channels
Like those outlaw quads guys.
Yeah, like those outlaw quads guys. And I don't want to start any arguments listing them, but you know who they are.
You know.
Okay. And
if you're watching this video, you know exactly who we're talking about.
And we all know that just degrades the overall appearance of the hobbyist and creates issues as far as legislation is concerned. So we'll have another video coming up soon. We're building an Acrobrat, 3-inch. So my first fully built from the ground up. I went with a 3-inch drone. To hopefully be just under the 250 mark. We'll see if the math checks out, after we put it on the scale.
It's gonna be my first 3-inch drone that I've been in the same room as. I'm gonna get a real one soon. I'm about to move. You can cut this out if you want, but the explanation of what's going on. I am about to move and not buying new things while I'm about to move.
Right.
It's also going to be, we're going to hopefully be able to shoot a lot of videos tonight, tomorrow night, and release them sequentially over the course of the next few weeks. But this is our last night shooting.
This is our last weekend getting any footage, at least for a while.
Yeah.
Anyway, so some closing thoughts. Overall, I think that Flysky is a wonderful brand that does create quality products from the very budget option all the way up to something premium like the Paladin. I understand the criticisms against them, and I'm not saying all of them are invalid, but criticisms do not mean that we should not allow people to like what they want to like.
And there's a lot of people making their first comments in forums and discords and stuff like that are something along the lines of, what do I need? What is the minimum to be able to do X? And a lot of times it's just fly a whoop around their house. And the minimum to do that is not this. It's this. Or maybe even less, because I know a lot of really good whoops come with a proprietary controller. But my point is, people are pointing them to $200 transmitters and trying to get people to not get into the hobby. And that is not good for any of us.
Yeah, the Wizard is still sold with that. Everyone has seen this comment. Is the Wizard any good? Right, the Wizard that comes with the Flysky FSI6.
The X220, which they recently updated, by the way. They recently put out the X220S.
And so many people say, well, it's not going to fly as good as X, or it's not going to do things as well as X, or you're better off getting X. But it is still very cheap. And when you want to fly something, a lot of times budget is the ceiling. You're not experienced enough to even know what better is. Just let them encourage people to get whatever they can afford.
And these are people asking if it's okay if their first car is a Kia, and they're getting a bunch of people telling them no, just get a Ferrari. Right?
Which it's not helping.
Let them get a Kia.
The Kia is going to drive, and if your desire is just to drive, then drive the Kia. Right? It is fine, and it works for all you're going to need to get started. So that's my closing thoughts. So if you have anything else that you'd like to comment on, things that you'd like to put out, go ahead and put them in the comments below. If you have any suggestions, concerns, whatever, critiques, be respectful, put those in the comments below.
Or if you have any underrepresented brands that you think maybe need a little bit of cheerleading too. I mean, we aren't professional YouTubers, so we generally don't go out and buy every product available. But we do tend to run into a couple. We do have a little bit of disposable income and ability to experiment with different products. So if you want to point us in the direction of one, just to get our opinion on it, let us know.
Let us know. I'll see if I can get one. So yeah, that's all. So like, comment, share this video, and subscribe if you want to see more FPV related content. And
as always, fucking
smash that bell! can one man fit in their mouth. I'll tell you, less than they could fit in their keister, that's for sure.